zastupničkog doma Američkog kongresa Nancy Pelosi. Slijede njihova obraćanja javnosti, nakon kojeg ćete biti u prigodi postaviti nekoliko pitanja. Predsjedniče Vlade, izvolite.
Hvala lijepa. Zadovoljstvo mi je da smo danas u Vladi i u Zagrebu, u Hrvatskoj, imali prigodu ugostiti predsjednicu zastupničkog doma Kongresa, gospođu Nancy Pelosi, koju još jedan put želim izraziti dobrodošlicu u Hrvatskoj i zadovoljstvo da se priključila prvom parlamentarnom samitu Krimske platforme koji Hrvatska sa zadovoljstvom i sa snažnom podrškom Ukrajini organizira večeras i sutra u Zagrebu. Naš današnji susret obilježile su dvije ključne teme. Prva je daljnja suradnja između SAD-a i Hrvatske u potpori Ukrajine, bilo da je riječ o političkim inicijativama, aktivnostima u okviru međunarodnih foruma i organizacija, pa do konkretne pomoći koja se odnosi i na ekonomsku situaciju, financijsku situaciju, humanitarnu pomoć, dakle nastavkom podrške onim Ukrajincima koji su potražili utočište primjerice ovdje u Hrvatskoj, kao i pomoći vojnog karaktera koju Hrvatska, kao što hrvatska javnost dobro zna, pruža Ukrajini posljednjih mjeseci, budući da je Ukrajina žrtva ruske agresije, žrtva Putinovoga režima. Istodobno Hrvatska i SAD su uvjereni da smo u ovoj situaciji na pravoj strani i prava i morala i zbog toga ćemo nastaviti ovu suradnju davanja podršci nama prijateljskoj Ukrajini. Druga tema o kojoj smo govorili bili su odnosi između SAD-a i Hrvatske i s te strane smo izrazili zadovoljstvo o vrlo pozitivnom trendu, uzlaznom trendu u našim odnosima. Prisjetili smo se činjenice da je Hrvatska ušla u program izuzeća od viza i to prije godinu dana. Smatramo da je ta odluka jako dobra za unapređenje i olakšavanje komunikacije naših građana sa SAD-om i partnerima, a isto tako Hrvatska je među prvim zemljama koje su ušli i u Global Entry program, dakle među nekoliko privilegiranih zemalja koje je SAD uvrstio i dopustio ulazak u taj program. Također se veselimo skorom potpisivanju sporazuma o izbjegavanju dvostrukoga oporezivanja. Želimo unaprijediti suradnju u svim granama gospodarstva, a osobito u energetskom sektoru i obrambenoj suradnji koja je jedna od možda najrazgranatijih oblika suradnje do sada. Hrvatska isto tako cijeni potporu SAD-a kada je riječ o razumijevanju za pitanje jednakosti Hrvata kao ravnopravnog konstitutivnog naroda u Bosni i Hercegovini i to se vidjelo temeljem i izjava američke diplomacije prije nekoliko tjedana kada su održani izbori u Bosni i Hercegovini. Isto tako cijenimo i potporu SAD-a temeljnim ciljevima vanjske politike Republike Hrvatske koji su pred ostvarenjem, a to su i članstvo u europodručju i članstvo u schengenskom prostoru i jedan i drugi korak čine Hrvatsku vanjsko-politički snažnijom, otpornijom i pouzdanijom i partnericom unutar Europske unije i saveznicom unutar NATO-a. Nastavit ćemo našu suradnju i na području jugoistoka Europe i na području svih sigurnosnih tema koje su vezane za globalne aktivnosti. Drago mi je da je predsjednica Pelosi danas s nama i da će sutra također imati važan doprinos parlamentarnom samitu Krimske platforme. Hvala.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister, for your words of welcome, for the opportunity to hear your views as to what is happening in Ukraine, and to give us the opportunity to thank you for your tremendous leadership when it comes to Ukraine and, of course, Croatia. When we received the invitation, when I was in Berlin for the G7, and the Speaker of the Ukraine Parliament, I think they call him Mr. President there too, we call it Speaker, but extended the invitation to come to Croatia for this meeting, it was clear that he felt very comfortable inviting speakers of the world to come here, because the friendship that you have extended, the appreciation you have for the courage of the Ukrainian people in their fight for democracy, which is a fight not just for Ukraine, but for democracy throughout the world, and for the military assistance you have provided, the refugee assistance that you have provided, the moral assistance that Croatia has provided under your leadership, Mr. Prime Minister. It is, as the Prime Minister said, we talked about our mutual concern about Ukraine, what we can do working together as we go forward, and the importance of this meeting on Crimea Initiative platform, first summit in this regard, that is being held in Zagreb. It's an honor to be here, and again, a perfect place to have this. Secondly, we did talk about U.S.-Croatia relationships. Our students study side by side. Our soldiers trained shoulder to shoulder. Our leaders work hand in hand. This is a very important relationship for us. The Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, others, the speaker earlier, but the Prime Minister in our meeting just now was talking about some things that we're pleased to have the visa waiver situation resolved, but we are also want to do the double taxation agreement very soon, and other areas where we could work together more closely to enhance both of our roles in making peace, democracy, and freedom spread in the region and in the world. So we thank Croatia for its leadership. It's a country small enough to be resilient, but big enough to be significant in terms of security and democracy and peace and values. And values what comes through in any conversation with the Prime Minister, because of the experience you have had in your own country in the past in terms of violence and the rest, and specifically mining and things like that, and trauma after violence, that you can be helpful to Ukraine and others subjected to Russian aggression. So I thank you for that. So it's about our relationship to each other writ large. It's our working together for Ukraine. And I'm very pleased in both of those regards to be, as a co-leader of our delegation on this trip, Congressman Jerry Connolly of Virginia. He was elected by the NATO Parliamentary Assembly to be their president, and in that capacity he was invited by the Ukraine to participate in this meeting, and he had some valuable perspectives from NATO to add to the conversation, and then here, but also as we go forward tomorrow. So for us, it's an honor that an American is the head of the NATO Parliamentary Assembly, in light of some years before when there's some doubt about how people viewed our commitment to NATO. Thank you, Mr. Connolly, for your leadership. The security and stability. When we travel, when we leave our country, when any of our delegations go forward, and just recently we had the chair of the Armed Services Committee, Chairman Adam Smith here, again focusing on the importance of the U.S.-Croatia relationship and security. Security is our number one issue. Economics, that's one of our primary issues as well, and governance. And in all three areas, we have a very positive relationship, and we learn a lot from each other. We certainly learn from Croatia. Just in final, the last point being about energy. Energy happens to be a leverage point in this war. The Russians have been the supplier of energy, and countries now have to diversify so that they're not being blackmailed by Russia as we go forward. A leader in showing the way in that regard has been Croatia, so thank you for your leadership in that regard. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you for the honor of visiting with you here. Thank you for the hospitality you're extending to all of us for peace in Ukraine, and thank you for your personal leadership in all of this. I yield back. Thank you.
Zahvaljujemo za ove uvodne riječi. Sada imamo vremena za nekoliko pitanja. Hrvoje Krešić.
Thank you. Hrvoje Krešić, Nova TV. My question goes both to Speaker Pelosi and Mr. Prime Minister. We have been witnessing the growing involvement of Iran in the conflict in Ukraine. Firstly, throughout the shipment of drones, and it's quite possible to see that there will be additional shipment of rocket systems as well. Do you see this as something that could lead towards further destabilization of the conflict, that eventually things could be going out of hand, that the conflict could become even more globally visible and unfortunately engaging? And just another sub-question to Speaker Pelosi, where can we expect your next unannounced flight and to where? Thank you.
Did you want to go first on your
No problem. Što se nas tiče, dakle, svaka potpora agresiji koju Rusija provodi nad Ukrajinom je loš potez, pa tako i činjenica da je Iran dostavio dronove koji se koriste protiv Ukrajine, protiv ukrajinskih civilnih meta, protiv ukrajinske kritične infrastrukture. Dakle, cilj tih napada je da ova zima koja slijedi bude još teža i još zahtjevnija za ukrajinski narod, a u konačnici da bude efekt intimidiranja i demoraliziranja. Dakle, to je sasvim jasno o kakvoj vrsti oružja se radi i zašto se koristi. Prema tome, mi se tome snažno protivimo. Protivimo se svakome ko krši međunarodno pravo. Agresija Rusije na Ukrajinu je eklatantan primjer kako se ne poštuje međunarodni poredak utemeljen na međunarodnom pravu. I zbog toga je pozicija Hrvatske bila jasna, čvrsta, nedvosmislena od početka. Tu mislim na hrvatsku Vladu i ponavljam još jednom ono što sam rekao danas ranije kad smo otvarali prostore ukrajinske zajednice, ukrajinske manjine u Hrvatskoj. Hrvatska u ovoj situaciji nije ni neutralna ni nesvrstana, nego se ponaša onako kako vidi stvari, kako ih razumije, kako je informirana na temelju svojih procjena zdravog razuma i privrženosti vrijednostima koje smo imali kada je bila riječ o našoj slobodi i neovisnosti koju u potpunosti dijelimo kada je riječ o ukrajinskoj borbi za slobodu i za teritorijalni integritet.
Thank you. I agree with the Prime Minister on what he has said. I think Iran is making a big mistake. We've been trying for a while now to have a nuclear agreement with Iran so that we can make the world a safer place. And now they're going off aiding the Russians and making the world a less safe place. First of all, we have to be able to counter the drones. And that is something that we have to do, which I won't go into right here. You see some success on the part of the Ukrainians already in stopping some of them. But it's a dangerous technology, and it must be stopped. And that they would ally themselves with Russia in this regard should be a message to other countries who might want to refrain from voting in certain global bodies or just in their relationship with Russia to think again about it, because Iran has upped the ante. And if you're concerned about Iran, you should be concerned about Iran supplying Russia with this technology. Again, we just want to be able to counter because it's very deadly. It's very deadly. As far as my plans are concerned, I go where I'm invited. The president of Ukraine called me to make sure I accepted the invitation of Speaker Stepanchuk to come here. It is election time in our state, so this is of the highest priority that I would take time away from that very important election to come here. In gratitude to Croatia for hosting it and being so supportive of Ukraine in this battle for democracy, and also supportive of the courage of the people of Ukraine for the fight that they're making, and the leadership of the President of Ukraine and the Speaker of the House, Stepanchuk.
Bloomberg News. Madam Speaker, you just spoke about the midterm elections. Are you concerned in the case that GOP takes the Congress? What would be the result? What would be the effect for the U.S. aid for Ukraine? And speaking about that, are you concerned about manipulation at the ballot box, initiatives like One More Mission and similar?
Well, why don't we just stick with the subject at hand today, and your first question is to that point. I believe that the support for Ukraine and the people of Ukraine, their courage, and the military support and refugee support and the rest that the U.S. Is supplying, again, learning from some of the experiences of our European friends, including and starting with Croatia, will not stop. It is support for Ukraine is bipartisan. It is bicameral. That means in the House and in the Senate. And it starts in the White House with our president. His prioritizing this springs from the work that he has been doing with friends, allies, listening to them, having unity as we go forward on how we address this crisis. So I wouldn't be, someone made a statement of we're not giving a blank check to Ukraine. We've never given a blank check to Ukraine. The Ukrainians have dealt with any assistance we have given them, and I'm sure you have given them, with great integrity, with great compliance, with great accountability, and with great transparency. So the inference to be drawn from that is we wouldn't be giving them help. That's not true. And that has been a blank check. That's not true. This has been a relationship of great integrity for democracy and freedom throughout the world.
Imamo vremena za još jedno pitanje.
Tamara Marković, HRT. I have a question for both Ms. Pelosi and Mr. Plenkovic. So the whole Europe is struggling with an energy crisis, and Croatia's partnership with the U.S. has proven to be an additional advantage. The U.S. has also previously supported the construction of the LNG terminal on the island of Krk. So my question is, what particular topics did you discuss in concerns of energy and the partnership of Croatia and the United States?
Well, we spent a great deal of time on that because, quite frankly, it is a source of great encouragement and joy to us to have this very strong relationship. I'm the first speaker of the House to visit Croatia, but this is not my first visit to Croatia. I came during time of war, and I saw what Croatian people were subjected to at the time, and see now how that experience is benefiting people of Ukraine and other champions for democracy throughout the world. So thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, for your courageous leadership in that regard. The Kirk, that is complete now, right? That's complete. And that is, as I've said, this country is small enough to be resilient, but big enough to be significant. And I think that's one example of that. And to hear the plans that Croatia has for giving, in a very entrepreneurial way, giving others in the region the opportunity to be self-sufficient and not be subjects of blackmail of any country for their energy products, and including, of course, starting with Russia in that regard. So it was a great compliment to Croatia for what they are doing. Great joy to behold the completion of Kirk and what that means, and to hear further plans that Croatia has as we go forward. And of course, you're blessed with hydro, and again, an entrepreneurial spirit to develop other means of energy, in addition to the diversification, which is very important, not only for political reasons, not to be dependent on anyone, but to save the planet. So thank you for your leadership in that regard, Mr. Prime Minister.
Evo samo nekoliko riječi. Ja sam iskoristio prigodu ovog posjeta predsjednice Zastupničkog doma da joj pojasnimo sve što smo uradili u proteklih godinu dana kada je riječ o dva velika paketa pomoći hrvatskim građanima i hrvatskom gospodarstvu. Dakle, riječ je o paketima vrijednim skoro 3,5 milijarde eura, dakle 26 milijardi kuna. Sa tim novcima napravili smo ono što je bilo najbitnije sa političkog aspekta mene kao predsjednika vlade. da u ovakvim izvanrednim okolnostima u kontekstu ruske agresije na Ukrajinu gdje se energenti de facto koriste kao oružje, osiguramo broj 1 i održimo političku stabilnost što smo učinili. 2, da zadržimo socijalnu koheziju u društvu, da niko ne bude ostavljen po strani. I 3, da spriječimo socijalnu frakturu. A socijalnu frakturu se sprečava tako da ostanu i cijene plina i cijene struje tijekom jeseni i zime kao što su bile i prije. A da cijeli paket koji smo donijeli ima antiinflatorni efekt i bude potpora kroz redistribucijsku snagu proračuna upravo onim građanima i onim skupinama koje su inače u nezavidnijem položaju kojima treba pomoći. U tom kontekstu energetska uloga Hrvatske koja je za vrijeme mandata moje prve Vlade konačno riješila 4 desetljeća dugu raspravu u hrvatskim energetskim krugovima koja se svodila treba li nam ili nam ne treba LNG terminal na Krku. Jako dobro znamo tko je bio za, tko je bio protiv. Mi smo donijeli odluku da napravimo LNG terminal, napravili smo ga, iskoristili 100 milijuna eura potpore Europske unije, dodali svojih 100 milijuna eura, još su 33-4 milijuna eura dali HEP i Plinacro i terminal je tu. Ove godine kao posljedica ove krize mi smo donijeli stratešku odluku da dignemo kapacitete postojećeg LNG terminala sa 2,9 milijardi kubičnih metara plina godišnje na 6,1 milijardu kubičnih metara i da nastojimo iskoristiti kontekst izvora sredstava kroz Repower EU kako bismo omogućili da Hrvatska doista postane energetski hub kada je riječ o ukapljenom prirodnom plinu koji bi dolazio u Hrvatsku i kasnije se distribuirao i nama susjednim zemljama. To je ta dodana vrijednost Hrvatske gdje ne gledamo svoje potrebe jer one su samo 2,8 milijardi kubika godišnje uključivši kućanstva, gospodarstvo i industriju. Ovo je potez više, potez odgovorne članice sa kvalitetnom infrastrukturom i strateškim odlukama koje su dugoročno dobre za nas i dobre za sve one koji su u našem susjedstvu. I u tom kontekstu naravno da želimo dalje razvijati energetsku suradnju sa SAD-om.
Zahvaljujem svima. Ovime ćemo zaključiti zajedničke izjave za medije. Hvala lijepo.
Let's say one more thing, because I'm not sure I've completely answered one question. The Prime Minister was very clear in how we go forward in terms of our relationship. We talked about the visa waiver that has already been affected, how we need to have the double taxation agreement, and that will be soon. We talked about the situation in Bosnia in terms of the respect for Croatians there, and we talked about Schengen. So he gave us a full agenda to take back to the President of the United States as well as to our Secretary of State and other relevant, and to the Congress of the United States. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here.
Zahvaljujem. Hvala.
Doviđenja. Excellent. Thank you very much. That was really Absolutely. No, this was great.